Well, we'll give everyone just maybe one more minute. I think my update for the week has been that I have had to learn to be a student again, which has been really, really interesting. I joined a business coaching group, and yeah, so lower back is in real need. That's exactly the request I got earlier. So we will for sure do some low back stuff and some twists, working it out a little bit. But the whole thing I was going to come to was that being a student again is really, really humbling. And I think for anyone who does a yoga practice, especially online for the first time or with us for the first time, it can be really intimidating. And I just really want you to come at it with a beginner's mind and heart and let go of any expectation that you might have for yourself today. That's kind of what the practice is in general, is to take it breath by breath and to see what actually transpires. Right? You might even excel past those expectations, so don't limit yourself even to just that idea, okay? So if you're not set up yet, do that. Go grab your blocks. We'll meet on the mat. I'll select our tunes. All right, we're gonna start in a child's pose, you guys. So for that, you can bring your big toes together. Play with the width of your knees. They don't have to be as wide as your mat. That will get more into your hips, but if you want to work on already opening up through your low back, slide your knees a little closer together. That'll create a bolster for you while you lay your belly on top. You can do whatever feels right with your arms. Robin's showing us straight arms, hands reaching forward. You can bring your arms underneath your head if that feels a little bit better for you. Come into this little egg shape and start to take some deep breaths. Yay, so happy you're here. So as you weigh back into your hips, maybe you can actually feel your heels right underneath you. And I want you to imagine your rib cage being a big balloon, okay? Because you have two little lens in there, especially since we're dealing with all this respiratory stuff. Let's try to really tap in. Fan out your fingers, start to feel underneath. Take a deep breath in, open up left to right, front to back. Exhale out of your mouth and release. Try it again, inhale. Open mouth, exhale. Last one, breathe in, fill up your space. Let your breath sip out of your mouth, exhale. Start to wiggle your fingers, lift yourself up into a tabletop shape. And if your knees are together, start to widen them out just a little bit. I'm gonna show you guys from the side too. Your toes are gonna stay together. Take a deep breath in, pull your tailbone up, heart forward, and if it feels okay for your back, start to lean your hips forward. So you'll stretch out through your belly, and you can pick up your toes back behind you, stretch into your hips. When you breathe out, start to push your hips all the way back again. Breathe into your low back and use your next inhale to rise. Maybe you come down just a little bit, or maybe you go all the way down into that big extension for your spine and your hips. Use your core. Exhale, pull it all the way back. Last time. Inhale to lift. Lowering in. Use your exhale to draw your hips back. Good. And start to come up into a regular tabletop. You can walk your knees in. Go side to side with your hips, pushing into the outer edges. Feel into your glutes. Or you can hang out on one side for a little bit longer. Make sure you're keeping this full breath. Try to match your inhale with your exhale. Maybe you stretch out your breath so much that you can feel a pause right in between each one. Okay. Once you're even on both sides, start to come all the way down into your belly. So you can take your time, lower yourself down so that your elbows are right underneath your shoulders. Okay, your forearms are gonna lay flat, and when you look down, they're parallel. Roll your shoulder heads down and back, and imagine your elbows are punching down into the ground and then pulling back towards your hips. If this starts to bother your back, you feel any pinching or tension, push your pubic bone down into the ground, your belly button will lift a little bit. But as you pull your elbows back, maybe you feel a little bit more stretch in your upper spine. That's your thoracic spine. Keep squeezing your thighs, push into the toes. Take a breath in as you lift your head. Good, breathe out, let your chin come parallel to the earth. Look over your left shoulder. And then look over your right. See if you can feel a difference. You're still active in your arms and your legs. Good, then come back to the center. Lower all the way down onto your belly. And just listen really closely. And if you need to pick up your head, just be mindful of your neck. Slide your left arm out to the side at a 90-degree cactus shape. So your elbow will be bent 90 degrees. Your forearm or your upper arm bone is away from your body at 90 degrees. Start to use your right hand to push yourself over, rolling over onto your right side. You can lower your head down to the floor or even put a block underneath you. Your right leg will actually reach back to give you some leverage to stretch into the front of your shoulder on your left side. Sorry, my hands are tight. Okay. And if this feels like it's way too much pressure, roll back onto your belly, straighten out your arm, and if you want to lower it down a little bit, you'll feel less intensity up across your chest. But if you do feel intensity, find that breath. And once you access your breath, you can talk to your body and tell it that it's actually fine. You're not in any pain. You're just stretching through your pecs. One more breath here. Good, and when you breathe out, come all the way onto your belly again. Switch sides. You can go slow. Right? Be mindful of your shoulders. Let your right arm come out to the side. Your left arm will help to push and roll you over. And maybe this right side is a little bit tighter, especially if you tend to mouse with your right hand or you're right-handed. So your top leg can actually stretch back, and it doesn't have to touch the floor. Good, yeah. Good, 2 more breaths. Remember your balloon, you're filling up 3-dimensionally. And roll all the way back onto your belly. Slide your hands right underneath your shoulders, gather up your core, elbows pick it up together. Push yourself up through this tabletop shape, tuck your toes under. Exhale, lift up your knees, find your downward facing dog. Start to pedal out into your feet. Work into your calves and your hamstrings. Just like you did in child's pose, fan out your hands as much as you can, really pushing down into your knuckles, finding this length through your arms. And remember that openness that you felt in your chest. I want you to keep finding that, even in downward facing dog. Relax your head. Imagine I could grip onto your hips and pull them higher, higher, higher to find some more length into your spine. And just let your heels drip towards the floor. They don't have to touch. Stay for one more breath. And inhale, lift your heels high. Look forward at your thumbs. When you breathe out, just take a bend in your knees so that you can walk yourself up towards your hands. Land with your feet hip-width distance apart. Inhale, find a halfway lift. Soft bend at your knees. Exhale to fold it down. One more time. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, soft bend to fold. You can hang out right here, or you can hold onto your elbows. Notice if you're pushing your weight back into your heels and your hips are jutting behind you, you'll feel more into your hamstrings and low back if you lean forward. So you can also interlace your hands behind your legs. Just generate a gentle pull so that you can open up through your lumbar spine. Take in your breath. If movement serves you today, you can do a walk over to the right and to the left, just noting what you feel. When you're evened out, walk your hands back to the center. Walk your big toes together. Leave a little bit of light in your heels, and then squeeze your thighs together so your knees are touching. Bend so much into your knees that your spine can stay rounded. You can put some weight into your heels. Ragdoll yourself up. Breathe in, roll your shoulder heads up. Exhale, relax them down your back. Open up your palms to face the front. Keep your eyes closed. Settle into your feet. Notice what it's like to have both feet together. A little bit less stability. Can you squeeze your thighs? Let your pelvis neutralize so you feel your tailbone round underneath you just slightly so that your low back feels spacious here. Pull in your breath. Exhale out of your mouth. Energize your hands. Breathe in and reach all the way around and up. Let your hands touch together. See them. Exhale, pull your thumbs into your heart space. Then really push down through your hands together. Take a breath in, reach all the way up. Then exhale, separate them. Sit low into your chair pose. So your arms will stick out straight from your shoulders if that feels okay. If you want something a little bit less intense, you can bring your arms down by your sides. But wherever you're feeling this in your lower body, it should be your glutes, maybe a little bit of your quads. If your low back is already starting to feel this one, keep your tailbone down. Draw your belly back. Take a big breath in. Good, exhale and sweep your left arm back behind you. Okay. And then just take a peek down at your knees. See if your right one just jutted forward. Can you pull it back so your hips actually stay neutral and you feel this more into your upper back? Sit a little bit lower. Good, inhale, reach all the way forward, active through your fingertips. Exhale, sweep your right arm back behind you. Check in with yourself. Notice if your opposite knee drew forward. Can you pull it back so that just looks like kind of like this? Yeah. So you're zipping towards your center line. You're still finding this active reach out through your fingers. Squeeze your triceps. Take a big breath in, reach forward. Start to stand, push through your feet, rise all the way up. Exhale, hands in through your heart center, fold forward with a soft bend to your knees. Inhale, find a halfway lift. And exhale, bend your knees. Plant your hands down and step back to a plank, either on your toes or on your knees. Okay. You can always come down to your forearms if that feels better for your shoulders too. But in this position, we all know that what helps the low back is a strong core. So it all plays in well together. So see if you can settle in here. Take your chin off your chest. Push the ground away so that your upper back lifts up towards the ceiling. Pull your belly in strong. Keep your tailbone working down. Just take one more breath. Exhale, pike up your hips. Downward facing dog. Cool. All right, let's stretch through your hips a little bit. Take a breath in. Reach your right leg high to the sky. Take it all the way up. Bend into your knee. Maybe you open up your hips. Circle out your ankles. Feel what that's like if you actually put some weight into your standing leg. Notice if your right shoulder starts to lift up, can you guide it down? One more breath, straighten out your leg. Exhale, relax your foot down. Let's try the other side. Inhale, lift your left leg all the way up. And bend your knee, point your knee towards the sky. Let your pelvis revolve open so you get this slight twist in your hips. Not so much in your low back if you just square down on your left shoulder. One more breath. Exhale and let your foot come down. Breathe in, lift up your heels, gaze forward. Exhale, bend your knees, take a little walk or hop all the way up. Take a breath in, halfway lift, hands come to your thighs or your blocks. Exhale to fold. Push into your feet, inhale, rise all the way up with a long spine. Hands touch overhead. Exhale, thumbs in towards your heart center. We'll take your hands onto your hips. So we're always going to do right foot forward. So take a step back with your left foot. And if you need blocks, make sure you have those. You have yours, right? I can grab mine. Show me back. I'm here. Okay. So we're going to go back through your 4 feet from the side. I actually want your outer foot on the back to be grounded. Your front foot will be facing forward. Knee's going to start to bend. So your back leg is straight. So from this front position, you're wide enough so that you have stability and your feet are separated so they are on their own train tracks. Pull back on your right hip, push your left hip forward. Bend a little further into your right knee. Keep your tailbone down. Push through your outer left foot and take a breath in. Reach all the way up. Settle into your feet. Keep squeezing your left quad. It is just a warrior one variation. Take a breath in. Look all the way up at your hands. If they can touch, amazing. If not, amazing. And one more breath. When you breathe out, hands into your heart space. Then slide them back by your side. As if you were going to actually grip your hands together. You can do that. If you can't reach, you can just actively reach behind you, hands separated. Take a breath in as you start to lift up through your heart. Keep dragging your knuckles if they're bound away from your low back and your glute. Breath in here. Breathe out. Let your spine roll forward. So even if you're gripping, you can let your chest come down and keep reaching for the sky. Or you can let your hands come down to the floor or to your blocks. Notice if your right hip wants to sway away and out from underneath you. See if you can guide it underneath you so that your waistline still feels pretty long on both sides. Let your head relax. Give yourself 2 more. Imagine your right hip bone wanting to plug back into its socket. Last one. And grab both of your blocks. Stick them underneath your hands. Pick up your left heel behind you so that you're high up on the toe mound. You can keep your knee down if that feels better for you. Let your front leg rest or keep it powered up. Take a breath in, push into your blocks, rise all the way up into your high lunge. So a little different than your warrior two, a little bit more balance to take in here. With your back heel really stacked high, it could feel more beneficial for your low back to bend into your back knee. Then tilt your tailbone down, feel your belly pull backwards so that your spine stays neutral and your core is helping you out. Take a big breath in here. Energize your fingers. Exhale and spin your back heel down so that your feet are perpendicular to each other and your arms come out to a big T. So when you look back at your back foot, can you make the outer edge of your foot parallel to the back end of your mat? Squeeze your left thigh. And then just play with this motion in your own body. Let your tailbone fly out behind you and then pull it down underneath you. Do you notice a little inner thigh sensation on the front? Can you really pull back into that and just let yourself feel it? Your shoulders are right over your hips. Arms electric. Squeeze your triceps. How's your right thigh doing? It's burning. Okay, good. We're going to give it a break. Take a breath in. Push into your legs. Straighten all the way out. Reach up behind you. So you'll pause right here. Let your left arm push into your left hip. And if you want to take a little tricep stretch, bend your right elbow. Hook onto it with your left hand. Keep your chin off your chest. Keep pushing your forearm. Back with your head. Stay for one more breath here. Use your inhale, rise all the way up. Take a big reach. Face the long edge of your mat so that your right toes are pointing in a bit. Okay, take a breath in. Exhale, left arm will wrap underneath the right. You can hug onto your shoulder heads and plug down. So we're going to stay like this. Yeah. And then wrap up. Yeah. So you can take this little eagle arm bind. Point your toes out, heels in. Take a breath in. Lift up your elbows if they're bound. Exhale, bend into your knees. Settle into your hips. Good. Hang out right here. Doing a little sway left to right if that feels good for your hips. But you'll start to notice that both quads are starting to talk back to you. Keep driving your knees out wide. Notice the stretch in your shoulders. Good, then take a big breath in, push into your feet, release your arms, take a star pose, then point your toes forward. Exhale, dive it into a forward fold. And let your tail lift up behind you, bend in so that you can start to feel more of your inner thighs. So even when you're in this posture, you should feel the outer edges of your feet rounding in. You get this little lift of your inner arches. Let yourself fold down by tipping your entire pelvic floor forward. Relax your head. You can take a reach all the way through your legs, or maybe you play with that bind again. Nice work, you guys. Draw your hands underneath your shoulders. And as you start to walk towards the top of your mat, just pick up your left heel so that you're coming back into this lunge position again. Settle into your hips. You might need to do a little wiggle with your back foot. Keep your left hand rooted down onto the mat or to a block. Breathe in and reach your right arm high to the sky for a twist. Notice if your right knee wants to start to flare open. Plug in. Keep pushing down through your big toe mound. Wrap your right ribs over your left. Pull your left shoulder head back. Squeeze your left quad. One more breath. Exhale and release your hand down. Frame your foot. Inhale, step it back to your plank, either on your toes or your knees. Just take one round here. Exhale it out. Inhale. Exhale, just lift up your hips. If you need a break with your knees down, you can relax into your child's pose. Grab some water. A little march today. Alright. Take a breath in, lift up your heels. Feet up and down dog. Exhale, bend your knees and walk it all the way up. Inhale, reset with a halfway lift. Exhale to fold. Push into your feet, root to rise. Inhale, come all the way up. See your hands touch. Exhale, hands into your heart space. Take one round of breath here together. Open mouth, exhale. There's always a side two, aren't we, Lexi? Take your hands to your hips and step your right foot back. This time your left foot will be in front. Okay, so you know that your front leg's going to start to bend in, your back leg will stay straight. So this one can be a little bit more challenging with the back foot and heel grounded at this like 45-degree angle. So if you need more room, widen out your stance. Push your right hip forward, pull back on your left hip. When you're feeling stable in your legs, you can reach all the way up. So if you have the room and you have the strength, try to get your front thigh to dive in so that it's at 90 degrees, 90-degree bend in your knee. Take a breath in, look up at your hands, let them touch together if that feels okay. When you breathe out, release them down by your side. Lean forward a bit so you can take the opposite grip that you did before if you're gripping. Otherwise, actively reach your fingertips back. Take a breath in, pull your knuckles back, your fingers back, lift up your heart. Breathe out, dive it down. So you're going from an exalted warrior to a humble warrior. You can always relax the grip if it doesn't feel right for you. You should feel a lot in your left glute, hamstring, and quad. If your fingers are bound, see if you can get the heels of your hands to touch. Add a soft bend to your elbows so you can actually pull the shoulder heads back. Nice. Stay for one more breath here. Pulling in on your left glute. Breathe out, relax your hands all the way down to the ground. Or use your blocks. We're going to lift up your right heel. And slide your foot far enough back where you get this big stretch in your toe. Bend into your back knee a little bit to start to rise. Come into your high lunge or low lunge with your back knee down. Breathe in, settle in. Feel the difference with your back heel up. You need to play with neutralizing your spine, noticing how your hip flexors really impact your low back. Remember, take that humble route. We don't want to strain anything. See if you can breathe. Maybe dive in a little deeper. Hug your low ribs in. Reach your fingertips backwards. Breathe in. Exhale and open up to a warrior two. So when you look down at your feet, or maybe you're blessed to have a mirror in front of you, you can see that your front heel is bisecting your back heel or your back arch. Your back heel to heel will give you a little more room for your hips, so that when you do this Michael Jackson move, you get this feeling on your front inner thigh. Settle in, gaze over your front hand. Breathe. Everything is temporary. Push into your foot, straighten out your leg, breathe in and reverse your triangle. This time left arm reaches up. You can always stay exactly as you are or bend into your elbow, hook onto it with your right elbow and pull back so you get this tricep stretch, lat stretch, all the way down into your waist. Notice if your right side is starting to feel crunched in. Keep your pelvis as neutral as you can. That way you'll actually find more space in your side body. One more breath. Use your core. Inhale, rise. Reach all the way up overhead. Point your toes out, heels in. Exhale, right arm will come underneath your left. So you can hold onto your shoulder heads or wrap up your elbows and forearms. Right? Take a breath in. Straighten everything out, and then exhale, we'll pulse back in. My bad, I was already there. So settling into this variation of horse pose or goddess pose with eagle arms. Do a little wiggle of your hips, swaying it out, feeling into your inner thighs, getting the stretch in your rotator cuff and in between your shoulders. Then push into your feet, breathe in, release it all. Take your hands all the way up overhead. Point your toes forward. Exhale, dive it all the way down into your wide-legged forward fold. Maybe this time you don't stick to one side. You do the similar move by bending into one knee, followed by the other. Let yourself even out. 2 more rounds of breath here. Relax your head and your neck if you haven't yet already. Take a slow crawl all the way up so that your shoulders are right over your hands. You start to walk yourself forward. You'll have to pick up your feet a bit. Your left toes will face forward. Your right heel will still stay up behind you. Keep your right hand grounded right underneath your shoulder. Take a deep breath in. Left arm comes up to the sky. For this little twist, try to plug in your hip just like you did in your humble warrior. Squeeze your right thigh. Squeeze both of your upper arm bones. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. Relax your left hand down. Inhale, step into your plank. Slide that foot out from underneath you. Stay on your toes or your knees. We'll take 3 rounds of breath here. Find your form. Spread out through your fingers. Keep them active. Chin off your chest. Last breath. Exhale, lift up your hips. Slide them high for downward facing dog. Nice job. Settle into your space. Then gaze forward, let your knees come down. Right, shift your weight over so that your heels slide out one direction and your hips can come all the way down. Right. We'll do one more thing for core just because I did get so many low back requests for this one. And again, core is very important. And there's so many ways to modify it. So go along with what feels right for you today, right? It's not, you don't need to prove yourself to anyone today, all right? Let's dig your heels into the earth. Keep pulling your toes up. Remember, this is like a beginner's mindset. So you can use your hands behind your thighs if that feels more supportive for you. Take a breath in and lift up your heart so your spine feels spacious and long. When you breathe out, you'll lean back by just hinging at your hips. So your spine didn't do anything. And then if it feels better for you, bring your legs together. Squeeze them really tight. Take a breath in, reach your arms forward. You could stay exactly as you are right here, focusing on this big balloon breath, side to side, front to back, bottom to top, or you can start to pick up your feet. And then notice if that made your breath a little bit more challenging to keep full. Maybe you just leave your toes down a little lower. If this isn't enough for you, try straightening out your legs. That's not where I'm at today, so I'm not going to show you. And you can always try and then come back. That's not a problem. Take a deep breath in. I know your hip flexors are probably talking to you. Exhale, feet come down. You can use your hands. Roll yourself all the way down onto your back. Give yourself that little stretch on the way. All right, plug your heels in so they're right behind your glutes. And we're gonna take the right leg and cross it on top of the left thigh. So you'll take this little figure four shape. If you pick up your head, you see this hole, reach your right arm through it, lift up your left heel, pull both sets of toes up towards the knee, right? You can hook your hands behind your hamstring again, let your head rest down, pull your entire figure up towards your chest. You can do a little rocking left to right, see how that feels on your glute. Maybe if you do rock left and right, you find a little corner of your hip that feels a little louder. Stay for one more round. Cool. So leave your legs as they are. You'll release your grip. Let your left foot come all the way down and then slide it all the way over to the left side of your mat. And you're gonna let your knees fall over to the right. Okay, so when you pick your head up and you just gaze down your leg, notice if your left thigh is actually sticking straight out from your hip. So you want it to be like a direct line, a nice long line. And you'll feel it into the top of your hip. If it's pulling on your low back, just uncross. I think that was your right side. Or uncross your right leg. And then you can take your arm all the way up overhead. That feels like a better stretch for you into your psoas. So your psoas is one of the deepest hip flexors, or is the deepest hip flexor of them all, and it's the only one that attaches to your low back. So if you do feel this one in your low back and your hip, that's possibly the one that you're getting at. So if you use your top heel to actually add traction and lower your knee down a little further, you can feel more. Oh, then don't do that. If you feel any pressure on your lower knee, just take the top leg off. All right, and then when you're ready, use your core. Come back to the center. Maybe hug both knees in towards your chest just to reset. You can rock on your spine, left and right. And then let's put both sets of feet down. Cross your left ankle over your right, over your right thigh. Pull everything in just like you did on this side. Sometimes yoga can make you just laugh. Let yourself rock left to right, yeah? Let your knee push away from you with your forearm. Your elbow can really let that lengthen out. Okay, when you're ready, you can let go of your feet, but keep them crossed, right? Keep your left ankle crossed over your right thigh. Just do a little heel toe for your right foot. Let your knee dive down. Your knee will stick straight out from your hip when you look up. So your femur isn't too far forward or too far behind you. But you should feel a big stretch to the top of your right hip this time. Take your right arm overhead if you need just a little bit more. Just let that traction of your top ankle dragging away and you actively reaching through your hand give you this isolated stretch into your hip and your low back. Okay, before you come back to center, just take your top ankle off and then use your core to lift your knees back up. Walk both sets of knees out, or feet out and knees in. And then just do a little windshield vipering both legs at the same time. When you're even, begin to walk your feet behind your glutes. Give yourself a little hug, a squeeze of both sets of knees. And then before you go anywhere else, let's take the knees wide. Yeah. So you can hold onto your shins and really plug down. If it feels better to actually grab onto the outer edges of your feet, you can plug all the way down again, as if your feet were walking up on the ceiling above you, but your shoulder heads are incorporating down into your back. If you can pretend that you're going to create this small tunnel for your low back, get your tailbone to come down. Take one more breath. And then let your feet go. We're going to lift the hips up. Push them over to the right. Let your spine get a twist as your knees dive over to the left. And just like you did at the beginning, you can take that arm position with your right arm into that cactus shape, or you can take a full outstretch reach. Maybe begin to close your eyes. Use your core. You know where you're going next. Come back to the center, hugging your knees in, and just resetting. Let your feet come down. Walk them over to the left. Pick up your hips to the left, and then slide your knees to the right. Your left arm will take that cactus shape again, so you can breathe into your back body and your chest, your outer hip.
All I'm missing from people that I took with you. She got hard in her eyes, shock you like you want to be.
When you're ready, come back to center. Keep your feet right behind your glutes. If you have your blocks, we're going to use at least one of them. Push into your feet, lift your hips up, slide one or two blocks right underneath your pelvis. So it's not underneath your low back. You should feel supported right at that low part of your spine at your sacrum. Then walk your feet in enough so that you can lift them all the way up to the sky. Legs up the wall. A supported inversion. And again, use that beginner mindset. Close your eyes. I want you to imagine, this is one of my favorite imaginary things to picture. Since gravity is no longer affecting you, then you can feel the space happening in your knees, in your ankles, in your toes. All those tiny spaces, tiny joints. You can feel in your mind. You can feel it all the time. Then start to bend your knees, bend your feet all the way down. Land your feet softly. Lift up your hips. Slide your block out of the way. Lower your hips down. Give yourself one more squeeze. Give yourself all the love and care. One more breath. Exhale and let it all go. Take up space. Shrugging your shoulders underneath you, stretching your arms out long by your side or away from your side. Let your legs lengthen out. Relax your jaw. Let your breath go. And just see where your thoughts take you without attaching onto any single one. Stay in stillness for 5 more breaths. You can remain as you are, holding on to this time, this stillness. But if you're ready, you can start to wake up your feet, your hands. Imagine your balloon of air getting bigger and bigger with each new inhale. Come back to this body. Take a full body stretch if that's calling your name. Then bend your knees, roll over onto your side. Pause once more in stillness. As a gesture of gratitude, pick out one thing from your day that seemed little but is actually really significant. Hold on to that piece of gratitude, carry it with you up into a seat. With your eyes soft or closed, bring your hands into your heart space and empty out all of your air. Take a fresh breath in with us. Open mouth exhale. Thank you so much for being here today. From my heart to yours, as well as Robin. Namaste. Namaste.